Yes, guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Bright, and this is the Bright Show podcast, boxing. And guys, Oleksandr Usyk has a big decision to make about his next fight. And according to rumors, Oleksandr Usyk is wanting to fight a certain Andy Ruiz. Now, I don't understand this, right? Myself, including many other boxing fans, would love Usyk to fight Agit Kabayel because, I think Kabayel is a worthy opponent for Oleksandr Usyk right now. However, I think there's a discussion to be had about Usyk's decision. I understand why Usyk wants to fight an Andy Ruiz, right? I sort of try and understand it from Usyk's perspective. I don't agree with it, but I sort of understand it because, Andy Ruiz was once a champion in Usyk's era, just like Usyk wanted to fight Deontay Wilder. It's the same reason why Usyk wants to fight, Andy Ruiz. And I sort of understand that whole idea, but I don't think Andy Ruiz deserves a shot at the world title, and not just one world title, but 3 belts, including the Ring Magazine belt. I don't think Ruiz deserves that. So for me, I think it's always best to have a look at a fighter's, box rec. Look at the fights that they've had recently and how they've put themselves in the right position to earn a title shot. So let's have a look at Andy Ruiz's box rec here, right? This is Andy Ruiz. And, as you can see there, Andy Ruiz, 35 fights, 2 losses and 1 draw. Ruiz, right? When we go down here, in his last 5 fights, so you've got, after the Anthony Joshua loss, right? He won, he became a unified champion against Anthony Joshua in one of the biggest upsets we've seen in boxing. And then he lost to Anthony Joshua in a fight where he was very ill-disciplined and didn't train and probably ate himself the whole fight, really, right? And then after that, he fought Chris Arreola in 2021, and then he fought Luis Ortiz in 2022, and then he fought Jerome Miller in 2024, which was a fight that a lot of people would argue that Andy Ruiz lost that fight. I thought that Miller deserved the win in that fight, and they gave it to Andy Ruiz. So as you can see there's nothing on Andy Ruiz's record to show that he's deserved the opportunity to fight for 3 world title belts. I don't see it, because if Ruiz had beaten some really good fighters, had been active, and had deserved, a shot at Usyk, I would not complain. I would say, look, I think it's absolutely fine. Because if we compare that to Agit Kabayel's record, right? You got Agit Kabayel here, 27-0, no draws at all. As you can see, right? Agit Kabayel in 2023 beat Aslanbek Makhmudov. Now, this is someone that was ranked highly and someone that a lot of people talked about that was, one of the boogeymen of the division. And Kabayel, chopped him down, right? Frank Sanchez, again, another highly ranked opponent that everybody in boxing was raving and ranting about. And Kabayel did a job, absolute demolition job on Frank Sanchez. And then you have Zhile Zhang, right? Yes, Zhile Zhang, after 6 rounds, Zhang is nowhere to be found in the fight. He's done. His gas tank is finished. And Kabayel had to do a job on Zhile Zhang. It wasn't easy in a fight where he got knocked down himself. He came up and won the fight. And then recently we saw Kabayel beat Damian Knieber in a fight which I thought he looked a bit shaky. That could be because of ring rust. He hasn't been in a ring for a long time. And so, I think that he needed to get a bit of the cobwebs out of the way, and he looked, quite shaky in the first 2 rounds, and then he stopped Knieber in 3 rounds. So look, you compare that to what Agit Kabayel has done, right? The people that he's fought, the wins that he's had, to Andy Ruiz, who, hasn't been active and has just been around and not taking boxing seriously. I don't see why Oleksandr Usyk would want to fight Andy Ruiz. I don't see it. I don't understand it. Because for me, you have to earn a shot, right? You have to deserve the opportunity to fight for the world title. Oleksandr Usyk's idea of fighting champions in his era that he hasn't fought yet, I understand that. And I could understand the decision to fight Deontay Wilder because Wilder was a reigning champion for a long time, right? But when we look at Andy Ruiz, right? Andy Ruiz was a champion, but he was only a champion for one fight. Ruiz could not bring himself to be disciplined enough to defend his belt and dignified boxing, right? Ruiz had one responsibility, and that was to behave like a champion, behave like a boxer, train, eat, sleep like a boxer, and defend his belt against Anthony Joshua. And what we saw was he won that fight, and then he lost the championship belt after that, the unified belt, right? So Ruiz does not deserve this opportunity more than Agit Kabayel. And Kabayel has shown, in his last few fights. And I think all of boxing, everyone in boxing, is expecting, you know, Oleksandr Usyk to fight someone like Agit Kabayel or FIB Wardley. And I know that Usyk does not want to fight FIB Wardley, and that's okay. But choosing Andy Ruiz over Agit Kabayel just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't sit well with me at all. So look, I am keen to understand what you guys think about this potential decision here. Usyk has to make a choice, right? He's not going to fight FIB Wardley. That's fine. He's not going to fight Tyson Fury. He's come out, his manager has come out and say he doesn't want to fight Tyson Fury because they think that chapter is closed. Fine. Deontay Wilder fight is not going to happen because Deontay Wilder is going to fight, Derek Chisora, which has been pretty much confirmed. So that fight is going to happen in London somewhere this year. All right. So Usyk has a decision to make, and a very important decision that I think would change the way the current heavyweight structure is. Because if Usyk gives, Kabayel an opportunity, boxing wins. Because, I think that Kabayel has the potential to give Usyk some troubles. Although I think Usyk will beat Kabayel, that is just a prediction. That is just an opinion. We need to see that in the ring because this is boxing. This is heavyweight boxing. Anything can happen. Kabayel can go in there and upset Oleksandr Usyk, and that would be good for boxing. Andy Ruiz hasn't deserved the chance to fight for 3 world title belts. Let's be honest here. This channel is all about honesty. It's all about representing boxing the right way. And I don't think Andy Ruiz deserved this opportunity more than Agit Kabayel. And I think Usyk and his team, they need to make the right decision. They need to do the right thing by boxing. I understand Usyk wanting to fight, a champion that he's not fought yet, which is Andy Ruiz. But Andy Ruiz hasn't been really active in the last, few years, and he's been, I don't know what he's been doing. Really, he's not disciplined enough to stay and to represent boxing the best way. But Kabayel has done it. He's shown us, right? He's been pretty active, and he's beaten some really good fighters on his way to becoming the BBC, number one. So look, I think he deserves that shot. Oleksandr Usyk and his team, I think they need to make the right decision, and I think they should give Kabayel the opportunity. But just imagine Agit Kabayel versus Oleksandr Usyk in Germany. Imagine how big that fight will be. Just imagine, because Kabayel, as we saw, right, recently, put too many people in a stadium against Kniba. And Kniba is not as big as Oleksandr Usyk. So Agit Kabayel versus Oleksandr Usyk in Germany would be a massive fight. And I think a lot of people will come out to watch that fight. They can put that fight on in any stadium in Germany and it will sell. And I think that is the fight that needs to happen next. And Oleksandr Usyk versus Andy Ruiz, I don't think, is the right fight for boxing. So I want you guys to get in the comment section and let me know what you think about Agit Kabayel versus Oleksandr Usyk or Oleksandr Usyk versus Andy Ruiz. Let me know in the comment section below.